This is RnR English. Real people, real English.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of RnR English, where, like my friend says at the beginning of the show, you can hear real people, like me, speaking real English, like I do. And my friend at the beginning of the show that says that is sort of the topic of today's podcast, because he obviously is American, and that is what we are talking about, to see why some people love America, why some people hate America, and just America in general. Obviously there is quite a rivalry between England and America, and obviously Dan and I are English, so sometimes in the episode we don't speak so well about America, but it's all fun and games. In reality, we love them and they love us. Anyway, enjoy the show and happy listening. Dan the man, how are you today?
I'm good, how are you?
Not so bad. I was fantastic, but now I'm talking to you a little bit less, but I can't complain. So we're going to start the show in a different way now, Dan. We are going to always look at a review like we did last week. So you ready for this review?
Sure.
It's a short one. It's from a listener called Billy, who was one of my students. I'm not paying her to leave the review, just in case anyone thinks that. But she commented saying it's funny and helpful. But do you think she was talking about you when she said funny or helpful?
Well, probably not, no.
I would say absolutely not. But thank you very much for that comment, Billy. All comments and reviews are welcome. So, into the show, Dan. At the beginning of the show, I don't know if you have ever listened to an episode of RnR English, but there is a guy that says this.
Real people, real English.
Where do you think that guy is from, Dan?
Well, I'd bet a lot of money, America.
I'd bet a lot of money. Nice thing to say there, Dan. So bet obviously means when you, let's say, risk money on the outcome of something. When people go to Las Vegas, what do, Dan?
Bet.
Yes, indeed. Yes, he is American, and he obviously speaks a little bit different to you and I.
Have you spoken to him before, or is that just...
We had some contact via email. He was a very nice man, actually.
What was his name?
Don't know.
That sums you up, doesn't it?
That sums you up. That is a summary of you as a person. Probably true. So anyway, we are talking about America. So when I say America, Dan, what do you think of?
Oh, God.
Don't be too offensive, Dan.
Just over the top.
Over the top. Oh, that's a very nice term, actually, which often people write as OTT, which just means too much. Yes, I agree. Everything is quite big there. I mean, it's a big country, so, it's big. But something we can say about America is sometimes they are hated, sometimes they are adored, but they are never ignored.
What the fuck is that?
Something I saw on the internet. But why do you think then, because obviously in this thing it says sometimes they are hated, why are they hated?
Well, I don't know. Who hates them?
There are some people.
I see what you're doing here. You're trying to put me in the spot where I make the judgment. Let me ask you the question.
What question?
What do you like America?
I've been there many times. It's a very nice place.
Do they like you?
No, they hate me. And they always ask me a lot of questions when I enter the country, because obviously
I
look like a terrorist, obviously. The last time I went there, they said to me, so I was going to New York as well, and they said, why are you coming here? I said, a holiday. He said, for what? I said, I didn't know what to say. I was just like, just to see things. Like, it's a holiday.
Do you know what, mate? I don't know. I'm going home.
And when I didn't have a reason, when he was like, why are you coming on holiday here? I thought, God, he's not going to let me come. Like, I didn't realise I needed a reason to go on holiday and visit one of the most famous cities in the world.
You shit yourself, didn't you?
Well, I very nearly shit myself. Anyway, so here is one of the reasons that people may dislike America. This is Barack Obama speaking. Obviously, he's not with us at the moment. This is a quotation of him. So just have a listen to this.
We remain the wealthiest, most powerful, and most respected nation on earth.
Okay, so for anyone that didn't understand, he said in that speech, we are still the wealthiest, which is the richest, most powerful, and most respected nation on earth. I mean, what do you think of that, Dan?
Well, I don't know enough about the first two, but the third one?
Most respected nation. I mean, even if that were true, which from a little bit of research, the wealthiest country doesn't seem to be true. Qatar seems to be the wealthiest country. So even if it were true, who would say that? That is like going to a party.
An American.
That is like going to a party and saying, I am the most beautiful person here, I am the richest person here, and I am the most respected person here. I mean, who honestly would ever say that? It's just ridiculous.
It's quite common to hear that from American politicians.
Here we are. Now it's coming out what Dan really thinks about America.
Not at all. But yeah, I think it's quite a strange thing to say.
I would like to say at this point, I do have some American friends, and I'm sure they also cringed when they heard that. What does it say? What does it mean to cringe, Dan?
To be extremely embarrassed.
To be embarrassed, like you can always make the noise. If you cringe, you sort of go, oh, close your face, let's say, and make that horrible movement of like, oh God, I can't believe he said that. So they're not all like that. It reminds me actually of a student I had once who admittedly was a very good-looking man, and he I was helping him I was helping him with a CV, and I was like, what sort of job do you want, blah blah blah, and he said, well, I've realised that with my face I can make a lot of money. And I just thought,
was he a rent boy or a prostitute?
So rent boy means a male prostitute. Not as far as I know, he wasn't. But yeah, I mean, and when someone says something like that, you just think, you absolute fucking arrogant bastard. They should be a bit more humble. What does it mean to be humble, Dan?
To have less ego.
To have less ego, absolutely. So just to not say we are fantastic. And another thing that I don't like is when you watch American films and there are English people in the film, they seem to always talk like the Queen and talk very posh. What does it mean, very posh, Dan?
To speak well.
Yeah, well spoken, like, oh, hello, nice to meet you, I'm from England. Like they always speak
Hugh
like
Grant,
that. Which,
like Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant, exactly. Think posh, think of Hugh Grant. But speaking of the language, which is obviously the same, many people ask me about the differences between English and American. I mean, there are some words which are different, but 99% I think is the same. Maybe I will do a show one day on the differences. Maybe I'll get an American person for that. But I remember when I worked at a school in Rome, and I was sitting in the reception, and a woman came in and was speaking to the receptionist and said, so what courses do you do here? And the receptionist said, it's an English school, so we do English courses. And the woman said, well, what about American courses? He just sort of thought,
It's time to go away.
Well, I cringed like I mentioned before. But I generally think that American people are actually more cultured than English people, the average American.
In what way? I actually think Americans are very, very nice, but I don't know if they're more cultured.
Well, I mean, let's
say...
they
haven't got a culture.
No, but they know more about the world.
Do they?
It's more possible they will know a foreign language. But I mean,
that's not true.
I'm speaking about an American that are not a stupid American, like someone normal, like a normal person. I honestly think.
Do you think they've got more of a chance of speaking a foreign language
than the normal British person? Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
but they're obviously famous for being stupid. But why do you think that is, Dan?
Because they are stupid.
That's very possible. Yeah. They're famous for that because, well, in my opinion, 50% of the world is stupid.
No evidence, no research behind that.
Oh, there's nothing. Yeah, that's just the research. I haven't even got a shit internet study for that one. That's just me.
Top of the head.
I'm just top of the head. Very good. Something that I've just invented in my head. But 50% of America is a very large number. So that means there is a very large number of stupid Americans. An example of this is when I was staying at a hostel once in Italy, and there was an American girl there. This was about 2011. And I remember she was talking to me. She had never left America. It was the first time. And she said to me, "Do you guys have like Facebook?"
And we also have running water.
Yeah, like we have water, we have electricity. You know, it's all. But she kept calling like you. She kept saying "you guys," like she was just including me in Italians, because for her Europe was just one thing. She had no idea of like the different languages. But I also have a good example of an English person being stupid.
This better not be me.
No, I have lots of examples of that, but it's not. It's someone you know, actually, though, Dan. I won't mention her name, but it's someone that we went to primary school with. I'll tell you after. So obviously in America, they write the dates in the opposite way that we do. So, for example, 9/11, which is September the 11th. In England, we would actually write that as 11/9. Anyway, so it was 9/11. The day of 9/11, like a few years ago, the anniversary, and this girl that we know wrote on Facebook, "Oh, it's 9/11 today. I'm just thinking about all those people that lost their lives. So sorry, blah, blah, blah." Problem with that was that it was actually the 9th of November.
Are you joking?
No.
Jesus Christ. Did anyone say anything?
Well, I saw it, and again, I cringed. The word of the podcast today is definitely cringe. I saw it and I thought, oh, shall I comment? I haven't spoken to her in like 15 years, but it was so stupid that I thought
do you know what? I think I already know who that is. But I'll confirm with you afterwards, but that's awful.
Tell me what letter her name begins with.
L?
Correct. Okay, Dan, thank you very much for telling us how much you hate Americans.
Hang on. I didn't say that at all. Hang on.
Hang on. Very nice way to say stop there. Well, that's what the newspapers will say tomorrow. Daniel Gandolfi hates America.
Well, you said 50% of Americans are stupid.
I said 50%.
I think it's around 30%.
I said 50% of the world population is stupid.
Okay, so what percentage of Americans do you think is stupid?
50. So it's the same for everyone. Same for everyone, Dan.
Oh yeah, equality.
I would even maybe consider myself in that 50%.
Well, stupid people.
Yeah, why not?
No, I absolutely agree.
Oh, what are you, the top 1%?
Not top 1, but definitely top 15.
Well, that's good to know, Dan. Maybe some of your intelligence is rubbing off on me. What does it mean to rub off on someone?
Where my intelligence passes on to you.
Yeah, just a little bit, because obviously you've got so much. You're just giving it away for free.
Too much, yeah.
Too much. Well, hopefully your intelligence is rubbing off on the listeners too. Anyway, thanks very much for your time, and we will see you on Thursday.
See you later.
See you later. Okay, so that was Dan and I talking about America. Let's have a look at some of that rock and roll vocab. At the beginning, when Dan said, "I'd bet he was American." So remember, to bet is when you risk your money on something. Dan used a nice phrase when he said, "That sums you up." So that gives a summary of you. And for example, if I were to sum up Dan in one word, I'd say probably boring. Over the top, which is another one Dan used, which is just something that's just too much and very associated with Americans. For example, if you see someone with like 1 million Christmas decorations on their house, sometimes you say, that's a bit over the top. Wealthy, when Mr. Obama was saying that America is the wealthiest country in the world, which is not true. But yeah, remember, it means rich. Cringe was a very popular word in the episode, and it's quite difficult to describe, but just think of it, the sound when someone does something and you sort of go, oh, God. But if you go to the website, I'll put a picture of someone cringing because that will explain it much better. Dan used rent boy, which is obviously not such a nice term, which is male prostitute. Humble is a nice word, which is similar to modest when we were talking about Americans being, sometimes, not all of them, a little bit arrogant, and I said they should be a bit more humble, a bit more modest. When you think of something off the top of your head, which is what I did when I invented that statistic about 50% of the world's population being stupid. Obviously, I have no research for that. I got it from the top of my head. Normally to think of something in that second. If you said to me, for example, how many countries listen to Rock and Roll English? I'd say, I don't know, but off the top of my head, 25. I don't know. I'm not sure. And Dan used hang on again, which is a nice way to say wait or stop. And a really nice bit was at the end when we said that we hope Dan's intelligence rubs off on us stupid people. And remember, to rub off is to, let's say, transfer from one person to another. And in this situation, it's Dan's intelligence that he is transferring to us. Because as we said, he's so intelligent that, if we spend enough time with him, hopefully we will all be more intelligent. Speaking of intelligence, one intelligent thing to do is to leave me a review. I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but if you could do that on iTunes especially, that would be fabulous. On the website, I've actually got an article that explains how to do it, just in case you don't know. And remember, speaking of the website, all of the rock and roll vocabulary is there, and you can do a pretty crazy quiz to help you remember. Okay, well, thanks for listening, and see you on Thursday. Rock on.
Thanks so much for listening to Rock and Roll English. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit rockandrollenglish.com and facebook.com/rockandrollenglish. We'll catch you next time.